Looking for magic cards? At flipsidegaming.com you can now use the promo code LVD to get a 10% discount on orders over $10 while supporting the channel at the same time. Hello and welcome to another episode of Friendly Friday, a weekly series where we take a look at budget, standard or modern decks, and this week we're back to standard with a blue-green Merfolk, a very powerful tribal deck featuring a lot of the new cards from Arrivals of Ixalan. So let's dive right into it here, no pun intended, starting out with our 1-drop creatures where we have a total of 12 1-drop creatures, although only 8 of them we ideally cast on turn 1. We have 4 copies of Mist-Cloaked Herald, a 1-mana 1-1 that's unblockable, so can keep applying pressure, and there's lots of ways to put +1/+1 counters on it, or to pump it up with our lords to make it even more threatening. Then the other 1-drop we want to cast on turn 1 is Kumena's Speaker, a 1-mana 1-1 that gets +1/+1 as long as we control another Merfolk or island, so that's just going to be a 1-mana 2/2 most of the time. Then the other 1-drop in the deck is a Jade Bearer, a 1-mana 1-1 that when it enters the battlefield we can put a +1/+1 counter on another target Merfolk we control, so cannot put the +1/+1 counter on itself, which is why it's not an ideal play on turn 1, but it's still a nice curve filler later in the game, and of course our unblockable creatures are great recipients for those +1/+1 counters. Then rounding out the 1-drops we have 2 copies of Unsummon, which is our only non-creature spell in the deck, and Unsummon is a great tempo play in this deck, returning target creature to its owner's hand for just 1 mana, and the reason why we're not playing the 3-mana version from Rivals is simply to be more mana efficient and to be as aggressive as possible. Then moving on to the 2-drops, we have 4 copies of River Sneak, which is not a Merfolk you see very often in Merfolk decks, but we're playing this over Metallic Mimic, mostly for budget reasons, but River Sneak also synergizes nicely in the deck as a 2-mana 1-1 that cannot be blocked, and whenever another Merfolk enters a battlefield under our control, the River Sneak gets +1/+1 until end of turn. And we'll see later how we take advantage of these unblockable creatures to make the deck even better, despite being more budget than some versions. Next up we have 4 copies of Silvergill Adept, an all-star in modern Merfolk, and it's no different in standard here as a 2-mana 2-1. As an additional cost to cast Silvergill Adept you have to reveal a Merfolk from your hand or pay 3 generic mana, but of course it's gonna be trivial to reveal a Merfolk from your hand, and when Silvergill Adept enters a battlefield we get to draw a card, so essentially we get a 2-mana 2-1 that draws a card when it enters a battlefield, which is great for a tribal deck like Merfolk. Next up we have 4 copies of Deeproot Elite, a 2-mana 1-1 that says whenever another Merfolk enters the battlefield under our control, we can put a +1/+1 counter on target Merfolk we control, so we can target any Merfolk we want, so we can just stack all the +1/+1 counters on our evasive creatures like the Mist-Cloaked Herald or the River Sneak. Then of course we have 4 copies of Merfolk Mistbinder, a very powerful lord, 2-mana 2/2, giving other Merfolk we control +1/+1. Then we have 4 copies of Jungleborn Pioneer, which may not seem like the most powerful card ever, but it's very synergistic in our deck, as we get a 3-mana 2/2 that creates a 1/1 Merfolk creature token with hexproof, so we get 2 Merfolk for just 1 card, so we get to trigger cards like River Sneak twice, or cards like Deeproot Elite twice, and of course the extra bodies when you have lord effects like Merfolk Mistbinder is also very powerful. Next up we have 2 copies of Kumena, a very powerful legendary Merfolk in our deck. The main reason why we're only playing 2 copies is for budget reasons, but also because it's a legendary creature, so we don't want to draw too many copies. Kumena is a 3-mana 2/4 with a lot of abilities that involve tapping our Merfolk, which is why going wide with tokens is very useful with Kumena. So we can tap another untapped Merfolk we control to make Kumena unblockable until end of turn, so that gives us even more unblockable creatures besides our Herald and River Sneak. Then we can tap 3 untapped Merfolk we control, including Kumena, to draw a card. And finally we can tap 5 untapped Merfolk we control, including Kumena, to put a +1/+1 counter on each Merfolk we control. And last but not least, we have 2 copies of Seafloor Oracle, a 4-mana 2/3 that says whenever a Merfolk we control deals combat damage to a player, we get to draw a card, and we get to draw a card for each Merfolk that dealt combat damage, so that can get out of hand very quickly, especially thanks to our unblockable creatures like the Herald and the River Sneak, which you may not see in every Merfolk deck, and then Kumena can also become unblockable, so that's a lot of evasion to go with the Seafloor Oracle. Then the mana base is very straightforward. We have 4 copies of Botanical Sanctum, which enters the battlefield untapped if it's one of our first 3 lands. We also have 4 Unclaimed Territory, which is gonna name Merfolk, and then we have a bunch of basics, 7 islands and 5 forests. along with 2 copies of Hashep Oasis, which in the late game we can use to give one of our creatures +3/+3 until end of turn. Then quickly going over the sideboard, we have a bunch of counter spells against control decks, 4 copies of Negate and 1 copy of Spell Pierce, along with a Blossoming Defense to protect our creatures. We have 2 copies of Naturalize to blow up cards like Godpharaoh's Gift. We've got Deeproot Waters, which is also part of a transitional sideboard plan, where we can bring this in against removal heavy decks, and they'll have a hard time answering our enchantment, which will keep generating hexproof Merfolk. And along with Deeproot Waters, we can also bring in Hadana's Climb, which can put +1/+1 counters on our Merfolk, and if we can put them on our hexproof Merfolk, the opponent will have a hard time dealing with them, and then this transforms into a land which can also pump our Merfolk and give them flying. We also have a Nissa, Steward of Elements, which is great against control decks to diversify our threats. We have a Kopala, which also protects our creatures from removal spells. And finally we have 1 Tempest Caller if we expect any board stalls where we need this to tap down all the opponent's creatures to attack for lethal. So that's the deck. Now let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Alright, we're on the play. And this looks like a great hand, so we'll keep. We've got a turn 1 Herald into turn 2 Elite is my guess. Then an Adept to follow up and Kumena as a nice curve topper. Let's see what we're up against. Some Petal Grove tapped, don't mind seeing that. I think we just go with the Elite here. And get in for 1. Scavenger Grounds, so could be some sort of ramp deck. Using a few deserts. Baffling End is gonna take out the Elite. And Forest to draw, that's nice, so I think I like Adapt into Jade Bearer here. And Seafloor Oracle is great if we can find land number 4. Let's put the counter on the Herald. Get in for 2. Commune with dinosaurs. Alright, so we're up against a dinosaur deck, not sure if they're Naya or just green-white. Scavenger Grounds kind of indicates that they might just be green-white, since a colorless land is difficult to fit in otherwise. Jungleborn Pioneer, so not the land we were looking for, but still not bad. Let's see, what do we want to play here? I think just Kumena to draw a card, and then we can get in for 2. That seems fine. So let's tap 3 Merfolk. And Island to draw. So let's get in for 2. And then next turn the Pioneer plays nicely with Kumena, or we can just play the Oracle and draw a million cards. Another colorless land here. And Jade Light Ranger, yep, that's fine. And let's see what the opponent revealed. Thunderherd Migration, looks like, after finding a Scattered Groves, so just a 3/2 Ranger. And River Sneak to draw, but we're just gonna slam this Oracle. So let's start by attacking with these 2. Draw 2 with the Oracle. And I guess we can say go here. A Ripjaw Raptor, not too scared of that one. With all our unblockable creatures. Opponent passes, so let's use Kumena end of turn. Alright. So we can run out Unclaimed Territory, name Merfolk. I think playing the Pioneer is fine here. And then I guess we can go with the 2 1-drops. I think we just want to draw the maximum amount of cards here, just to play around a potential Fumigate. So let's make this one unblockable by tapping the Jade Bearer. And just get in with our unblockable creatures. I guess if this was a plan, we could have done this first and not played out our creatures yet. So yeah, let's just let damage happen, draw 2, and then we can draw 2 more with Kumena's ability. And then we have our opponent dead next turn if they don't have a Fumigate. Just a migration, that's fine. Opponent has ascended. And another Ripjaw Raptor. Alright, so the opponent's pretty dead here. So no need to draw cards any longer. Let's just tap 5 and tap Merfolk, put counters everywhere. Untap. And I guess we'll just play out our hand, just because our opponent stepped out anyways. Move to combat, make Kumena unblockable, and alright, our opponent scoops it up. On to sideboarding against a green-white dinosaur ramp deck. So I think we can expect Fumigate from the opponent, which is a pretty problematic card, which is where we would like Negate. Didn't see a ton of removal, just a baffling hand, so don't think we need the anti-removal package. Nissa could be okay, although our opponent can pressure our planeswalkers with dinosaurs. And Tempest Caller could also be decent in this matchup. And what do we want to take out is a question. Unsummon looks okay against big dinos. I could see shaving Jade Bearers and just maybe bringing in 3 Negates and 1 Tempest Caller. Try something like this. Don't want to overboard. I guess Saddle the Wreckage could be more likely than Fumigate, given that our opponent plays a lot of creatures themselves. But either way, Negate should be decent. This hand is close to being good if we had a second land, but as is, if we don't draw a second land, this hand does nothing, so let's mulligan. This is pretty land heavy, but these two combine nicely, so I guess I'll keep bottom of the land. And hope to draw some Merfolk here. Silvergill Adept is high on my list. Negate, alright. So this could have been a Jade Bearer. Let's keep that in mind. Turn 2 probably still gonna run out to Sneak. Although I guess there's a world where we want to keep up Negate. Kumena, alright. Let's just run out to Sneak here. Name Merfolk. Run out to Sneak. Say go. Wayward Swordtooth lets them play a land. Let's make sure to play out our Sanctum here. Yeah, I think we just play Kumena, attack for 2. Not much else we can do. So let's attack. And next turn we can make Kumena unblockable by tapping the Oracle, and then Sneak is already unblockable, so we can get in for 4 and draw 2 cards. Jade Light Ranger, yep, that's what we don't mind seeing here, since we have our unblockable creatures to attack anyways, and if our opponent commits extra creatures, that makes a Fumigate from them worse. Opponent is ramping nicely here. They already have 6 lands in place, so this is close to being able to attack. We're just gonna have some fun. Make Kumena unblockable. And draw some cards. Alright. 6 mana for a Carnage Tyrant. That's pretty big and scary. But the Swordtooth still can't attack. And the Ranger's gonna stay on defense as well. Here we have an interesting choice. So let's play out Unclaimed Territory, name Merfolk. So we can play out the Mistbinder and then keep up Negate. Can play out the Mistbinder, play the Pioneer, kind of go all in. Feels like we do want to play the Mistbinder here just to get in more damage. So let's make some blue and some green. Pump up the River Sneak. Yeah, I think keeping up Negate is fine. We're not dead on the way back, only take 15 at the very most. And then we should have lethal on the way back. Let's make this unblockable. attack, and we might draw into something relevant here as well. More River Sneaks and a Herald. Alright, I guess we can play the Herald pretty safely here. Just provides an additional blocker just in case. And an additional unblockable threat. And alright, that does it, sweet. Managed to beat the green-white Dino ramp onto the next one. Alright, we're on the play. And this hand only has the one land, unfortunately. But we do have a lot of 1-drops. And Silvergill Adept is a pretty good 2. This is basically a 6-card hand since we're never getting to the Oracle. But it's actually a pretty good 6-card hand. So I think I'll keep. Could be a bit greedy, but opponent also goes to 6, so I guess we're kind of even given our Oracle that we're probably not going to cast. Lead with Speaker. Next turn, probably going to run out Jade Bearer, just to add more power and toughness to the board. Tapped Drowned Catacomb, so it could be a blue-black control deck, and Forest is excellent. So let's go Jade Bearer. Put a counter on the Speaker, and then run out the Herald. I guess we could have also considered running out the Adept, now that our opponent couldn't counter it. But this gets more power and toughness in play. A tap land, that's good. So the best they can do here is Fatal Push. Yep. Opponent playing around a potential Blossoming Defense. Unclaimed Territory, alright, so we might actually cast our Oracle this game. I guess we should play the Territory in case we draw into an Unsummon. Play the Adept. Reveal Jade Bearer. Draw a card. Another Adept, awesome. Run out Jade Bearer. And I guess we'll put the counter on the other Jade Bearer, since if we're up against the control deck, it doesn't really matter that we don't put it on the unblockable creature, and this spreads out the goods a little bit, since unblockable, of course, is better than not unblockable. Although I guess if they don't have any creatures, it doesn't really matter. Alright, so we've got a good start here. Spire Bluff, alright, so opponent on Grixis. And Saheeli Rai, okay. Not too threatening here. Could even ignore Saheeli, and land would be awesome. Deeproot Elite instead. Think we wanna run out the Adept. Try to find lands for Oracle next turn. I guess that makes sense. Not gonna reveal the Oracle, since that's a nice surprise. Alright, another Adept, I'll take it. Let's see, we're attacking for 6. So we can put the opponent to 8 and dead next turn. So yeah, I don't think we need to attack Saheeli here. Let's just attack our opponent. So our opponent needs to interact, otherwise they're in trouble. And alright, they're just dead. Alright, sideboarding against Grixis Control, it looks like. So probably want our Deeproot Waters, Hadana's Climb package. Could also see Kopala being good. Nissa seems great. And then probably want some number of Negate, Spell Pierce, and Blossoming Defense. Think I'll go with Blossoming Defense and Spell Pierce. And do we want Kopala or not? I'm not sure. Maybe on the draw we don't want Kopala, but on the play we can bring Kopala in. What do we take out? I don't love the unblockable creatures, since our opponent's not presenting many blockers. So we can take those out, and Unsummon is also pretty bad. I guess we can bring in another River Sneak and maybe one Negate. Let's try this configuration. So we did increase our curve slightly, and we have a hand here with one of our sideboard cards, but only one land. But it is a 2-color land, and we have 2 1-drops we can play, plus 2 good 2-drops, and we're on the draw, so I think this is a keep. Only slightly sketchy. We have 2 draw steps to find a land, but in the meantime we're doing something proactive, and it looks like our opponent mulliganed a bunch, so that makes up for it. Let's run out Kumena Speaker. And there's Ether Hub. And Gifted Aetherborn. Now that's an annoying card, but I guess if we put a +1 counter on the Speaker, then it just trades for the Aetherborn. We did luckily find second land, so we do have a few more options now. We can play the Silvergill, we can just play a Mistbinder, attack for 3, putting the opponent in an awkward spot. Even if it eats a removal spell, we can just play another Mistbinder, and this at least lets us attack right away. And then the opponent, if they don't have the removal spell, is in an awkward position. Alright, they're just gonna trade right away. That's also fine. And Amit's Eternal. Alright, so I guess we slightly misjudged our opponent's deck, since I did not expect an Amit Eternal. Aetherborn still makes sense as just a sideboard card against aggro decks, but let's see. So we can play 2 creatures here, which is good, which will shrink the Amit down to a 3/3. We can play Jade Bearer, put a counter on the Mistbinder, play second Mistbinder, attack for 4, and the opponent's unable to block, and then on the way back we can block the Amit if we want to. Or we can play the Adept, plus a Jade Bearer, then we would trade the Mistbinder for the Eternal, which I guess is fine in the spot given our opponent's mulligan. Yeah, I guess I'm down with playing the Adapt here. Reveal Jade Bearer. The Amit shrinks. Draw a card. Play Jade Bearer. Amit shrinks. And put the counter on the Mistbinder. And offer the trade. Which my opponent is probably gonna take, given that otherwise the Amit is not gonna have any great attacks, and it might just shrink and die if we keep playing spells. But on our side we don't really mind given our hand. And here we might just play Hadana's Climb to play around the sweeper effect. Opponent's gonna Fatal Push right away. So we have a few options here. I guess double Mistbinder's pretty great and is the most mana efficient. The other option would be just to play Hadana's Climb. Yeah, I like double Mistbinder here. I feel like if our opponent had a sweeper in hand, they wouldn't have used the Fatal Push. Say go. Just a tap land from the opponent. Alright, so if they have nothing, they're in trouble. Just a Botanical Sanctum for now, but yeah, let's play the Hadana's Climb. And put the counter on the Jade Bearer. And attack for a bunch. Opponent takes 10 down to 9. And let's see if they can get out of this. 5 mana for Glorybringer, alright, that's pretty good. So, let's see if they take out a Lord here or the Jade Bearer. They go for Jade Bearer. So, I guess they're just dead on board since we can just use the Oasis to pump up a Mistbinder. Alright, so don't even need all the stuff we have in hand. Go to combat, put a counter over here, and attack for 10. Awesome. On to the next one. Alright, we're on the play, and this hand looks acceptable. Not the most powerful hand, but a very evasive hand with only unblockable creatures and an Unsummon, so if your opponent presents some blockers, they're gonna have a bad day. So ideally with this hand, we would like to draw our Merfolk Mistbinder to pump up the team. And of course, Seafloor Oracle down the line would be awesome. Alright, Jungleborn Pioneer is excellent as a follow-up to River Sneak. So let's get in for one. We'll actually have to decide whether or not to play the Pioneer on 3 or play the River Sneak first to get additional triggers. A Rootbound Crag. And our opponent just says go. So I don't mind playing another River Sneak and keeping up Unsummon here. So let's do that. Play the main phase to pump the River Sneak. Get in for 3. And then next turn we'll be attacking for quite a bunch. Opponent with no removal spell turn 2. And Gift of Paradise, yep, that works. So they gain 3, so we're up against what looks like a ramp deck. So we just have to be fast here in killing the opponents, and Kumena Speaker is not bad. Let's name Merfolk. And yep, let's just dump our hand, hope the opponent doesn't have a sweeper effect. So we've got some enormous River Sneaks attacking this turn. So we're getting in for 9, putting the opponent to 10. And next turn what we could also consider is unsummoning our own Pioneer, just to be able to replay it and get even more triggers. But we'll see next turn. Hopefully no Hour of Devastation here. Opponent making black mana. Uh-oh, is this the -2/-2 to all creatures? I hope not. Alright, opponent untapping their land. Maybe rethinking it. Alright, another Gift of Paradise, that's acceptable. Uh-oh. Opponent's tapping black mana. This is bad. Oof, Doomfall. Alright. That's totally fine. Let's just get rid of, I guess, the token. Yeah, Doomfall was not great here. Could have also considered sacrificing our Herald, since the unblockable might not matter and the hexproof could be more relevant. So we get to untap and draw another Herald, so we could go for bouncing our own Pioneer, replaying it. That would add 4 power and subtracting 2, so we would get in for 2 more damage, plus we would add another Pioneer to the board, or we can just play the Herald and attack. And I guess we would get in for the same amount of damage if we were to unsummon our own Pioneer, since if we do that, then we don't get to play the Herald, so I think just playing the Herald and keeping up Unsummon is better. And in the event that the opponent does have a sweeper effect, we can always unsummon one of our own creatures. So let's get in with everyone. Let's see, could we actually have killed our opponent if we just unsummoned our own Herald? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. No, we would have still been a few damage short, but that was a play we could have made. So yeah, let's just get in for a healthy 9 damage, put the opponent to 4. And it's pretty much sweeper or bust. And alright, it's bust. So I don't quite know what we're up against. Looks like a ramp deck. So Unsummon didn't look great. And what else do we want to cut? Maybe we want to shave on the Mist-Cloaked Heralds, since the opponent didn't present any creatures. Same with River Sneak, might be a little weaker in this matchup. And then what do we want to bring in? Negate is typically good against ramp decks if they rely on big sweeper effects, like Hour of Devastation. I don't mind the Hadana's Climb and Deeproot Waters package. And Nissa's gonna be great as well. And then we can either go for Blossoming Defense or Spell Pierce. I think I'll go with the Blossoming Defense. Try this. We might be taking out too many Merfolk, so that's something we have to tinker with in the upcoming games, but for now we'll try this. Alright, this is a great hand. Let's keep triple Silvergill, especially if the opponent relies on sweeper effects. This can be very good. So let's just play Sanctum, say go. Don't think we want to run out a 1-mana 1/1. So let's run out Adapts. Revealing another one. Draw a card. Flooding out a little bit here. But we did bring in some expensive cards, so it's not the end of the world. And Fatal Push, yep, that's fine. Deeproot Elite. So we could play out the Elite, play out Jade Bearer. Or we can just play the Adapt and see what we draw. I don't hate just running out the Elite here. So let's do that. And then the question is, do we want to play the Jade Bearer or do we keep it? Since if they just kill the Elite, Jade Bearer is pretty sad, so I think we'll just say go here. And then next turn we can play a bunch of Adapts. Cuts, alright. So maybe could have gotten value out of our Elite had we played the Bearer, but... Alright, Hadana's Climb, so that's a nice one for when we have a creature in play. I guess we can just go Jade Bearer plus Hadana's Climb here, or we can just play 2 Silvergill Adepts, which is probably better. Draw Kumena Speaker. So yeah, I think I'm down with just playing another Adapt here. Reveal Kumena Speaker. Draw a card. And alright, pass a turn. And then next turn we can play the Climb and maybe commit one more Merfolk, but don't want to overextend here. Opponent missing green mana. So they could have some uncastable cards in hand. And never on an Adapt, that's fine. So I think we play Hadana's Climb. Move to combat. Put a counter on the Adept. Get in for 3 points. And I think we only commit a Kumena Speaker here. Say go. And then next turn we could use Jade Bearer to put a counter on the Adept to help us transform the Hadana's Climb. Azor's Gateway from the opponents. Alright, alright. So they could have a big finish in the form of Torment of Hailfire to go with that. But it's a pretty long climb to get 5 cards exiled here. Hour of Promise exiled. They already have 1 desert, but no green mana, which explains why they might have exiled it. So let's untap. Deeproot Waters, excellent. So that complements our game plan nicely. We can play the Oasis, play Deeproot Waters, then play a Jade Bearer, make a Merfolk, put a counter on the Adept, move to combat, put another counter on the Adept, hope they don't have instant speed removal, and attack, and let's see. Can't really use our transformed land yet, but next turn we can. Alright, so getting in for a healthy amount of damage. And now we can start making hexproof Merfolk and pumping them up with our Winged Temple of Orazca. Sweltering Suns, yep. Luckily the Adept survives. And next turn we can actually attack for lethal thanks to the Winged Temple if our opponent has nothing. They're using Azor's Gateway to loot. Exiles Cut to Ribbons, so yeah, our opponent's got a similar plan to the deck we showcased on our last episode of Wacky Wednesday. So let's untap. Another Kumena Speaker. Could even use Hashep Oasis together with the Temple, although maybe we don't have enough mana for that. I guess we could technically also use the Oasis, but if the Temple itself is already lethal, there's no point in also using the Oasis and getting blown out by removal spell. So let's try this. And we've got a 10 powered flyer. Get it for 10. And we got there, awesome. On to the next one. Alright, we're on the play. And this hand looks pretty reasonable. Turn 1 Herald, turn 2 Adept. Revealing Mistbinder. A bit heavy on the lands perhaps, but hopefully we draw into some action. So let's lead with Herald. Just the planes from the opponent. Could play out the Mistbinder here, but I feel like playing the Adept is probably better. Reveal Jade Bearer. Draw a card. Nice, Elite. So next turn we can go Elite plus Jade Bearer instead of Mistbinder. Opponent down to 19. Shafat Junes. Into Steward of Solidarity. So it could be some sort of tokens deck. Let's run out the territory, name Merfolk. Run out the Elite. And let's see here, if we play the Jade Bearer, we could put 2+1/+1 counters on the Adept so that it can actually attack into the Steward without trading, so that seems fine. Could also just offer the trade and put the counters on the Herald instead, but I feel like making a 4/3 is going to be decent. So let's do that. Given our Mistbinder, we don't want to actually trade our Merfolk, since they will get better over time, also with the Elite in play, so I think this makes sense. Opponent down to 14. And we still have a pretty good follow-up here. Mistbinder plus Kumena Speaker. Put 2 counters somewhere, so our opponent is in trouble. Field of Ruin is not gonna help them. So looks like I'm on a white deck. Trueheart Duelist, alright, that's actually not bad here. So our opponent can block an additional creature, so that can soak up some damage. So let's play another territory, name Merfolk. Play out the Mistbinder. And I think we just put it on our unblockable creature. So our opponent can exert, make a 1/1 with Vigilance. But yeah, they can only block with a 2/2 if they wanna activate it. So let's play the Speaker. It's actually interesting where we put the +1/+1 counter. Could just put it on the Adept, I guess. That way it still has a clean attack. Barring a combat trick from the opponent. And attack. So these are definitely attacking. Then the question is, do we attack with the Jade Bearer? Opponent basically can block it for free with the Duelist and also soak up the Adept. So I don't think it makes a ton of sense to also attack with the Jade Bearer. So let's just attack with these 2 for now. I guess maybe just putting the counters on the unblockable creature would have been fine. Opponent just takes everything, alright. Makes a token. Another colorless land. Might see a removal spell here on the Herald. Instead Okatra. It's pretty good, but doesn't really help the unblockable situation. Another Herald is nice. So let's play it. And alright, that does it. On to sideboarding against mono white. So our main deck looks pretty good against our opponent's deck. The unblockable creatures all look good. I could see Tempest Caller being better than Unsummon perhaps. But other than that, I don't think we need to make many changes. I think we just submit. I guess Hadana's Climb could have also been okay here, as eventually we can give one of our creatures flying. Alright, this hand's excellent. A lot of unblockable creatures and then Seafloor Oracle to seal the deal. Shafat June's probably not the land our opponent wants to lead with. And the Sacred Cat. Alright, that's slightly annoying since it does gain the opponent some life back and we can't effectively block it until I guess we play the Kumena Speaker, which we could play right now. I guess it can't block right away since we don't have an island or another merfolk. So given that, it's probably okay to play the Herald. And then next turn we can play the Speaker and potentially block with it. Although it's more mana efficient to play the River Sneak. Opponent gets in for 1. We'll take it. And Martyr of Dusk. So 2-1 that makes a 1-1 when it dies. Okay. Merfolk Mistbinder certainly nice. I guess we can just play the Mistbinder, which can block the Sacred Cat. Get in for 2. More mana efficient than just playing the Kumena Speaker. And then next turn we can go Sneak plus Speaker. That seems fine. So let's get in for 2. So we might be losing the damage rates at the moment. But at some point we're gonna slam this Seafloor Oracle and draw a million cards, and that's probably gonna put us ahead of the opponent. So we want to try and get our unblockable creatures in play before we play the Oracle. And Mirage Mirror. Alright, so that can transform into any creature, artifact, enchantment or land until end of turn. But copying our merfolk isn't actually all that great since they mostly just boost up other merfolk. Deeproot Elite is not bad, but I think the upside on playing River Sneak and then finding a land for Oracle is high enough that we should probably play the Sneak here instead of the Elite. Yeah, let's play the River Sneak. Get in for 2. And then Kumena Speaker is a nice blocker for the opponent's stuff. Alright, let's see if this Mirage Mirror copies anything. 4 mana for Golden Guardian. So that's a pretty interesting card. But we did find land number 4, so we're just gonna slam this Seafloor Oracle and draw a million cards. And our unblockable creatures here definitely pulling their weight. River Sneak being better than Metallic Mimic would be in this spot, I think. Opponent takes 5, we draw 2. So let's see what the opponent can do with this Mirage Mirror and Golden Guardian. They need the Golden Guardian to die somehow, so I guess they could copy their own Golden Guardian, make those fight, and that way they can transform it. But that's still a convoluted way of doing things. And then they're probably still in trouble against our unblockable merfolk. Opponent says go. Alright, so our opponent doesn't have access to double white, so we don't need to play around Settle the Wreckage. So I think the plan is just to play out the Elite. Run out Mistbinder. Put a +1/+1 counter on the Mist-Cloaked Herald. And that's almost game. Let's see, we could attack with more creatures, but I feel like it's safer just to attack with our unblockable ones. Opponent with Cast Out, so they can get rid of one of them. Or they can get rid of the Oracle, but they're just gonna go with the River Sneak. Opponent takes 4, we draw a card. And then next turn, they're dead to the Herald. Opponent's got 1 card left, so looking good here. And another Mistbinder, because why not? I would have liked to see our opponent transform Golden Guardian, but I'm also not too sad with drawing a bunch of cards and eventually winning the game. So I want to thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day. I also want to thank all my patrons for supporting the channel, and you can do so yourself as well over at patreon.com/LegenVD, where you get cool rewards for supporting the channel, as well as getting us closer to our goals, where with every goal reached we will release an additional weekly series. So if you want to see more content, Patreon is the place to go.